Hello, welcome to the Music and History channel. I'm your host, Colin McKay, coming at you with some, music and history. And today, I'm going to get right to it, talking about Little Richard, the king and queen of rock and roll. That's right. Now, we all know Little Richard passed about 2 years ago at the age of 87. And as time moved on, he let his, shall we say, his gayness kind of all hang out as a gay icon and an innovator of rock and roll music. But in the 1950s, that was not something that you could quite come out and advertise so much. And Little Richard was aware of this, having learned his craft and his skills in drag shows, minstrel shows of the 1940s and the 1950s. So one of the things that Little Richard wanted to do when he came out on the national scene through Specialty Records in New Orleans was to keep everything light and fun. You know, it wasn't safe in the 1950s to let your gayness hang out, and as well as Little Richard's music appealing to blacks and whites, integrated audiences, particularly in the southern states. This could be dangerous business, and Little Richard was only too aware of that. And he decided to make his image so wild that it would almost seem innocent and innocuous and clownish. And in his band, they dressed in pinks and yellows and baby blue suits. And Chuck Connors, the drummer of Little Richard's band, the Upsetters, talked about wearing these outrageous clothes that was designed to make them seem just innocent and fun. And they're not a bunch of angry black men here to steal the white women from town to town, wherever they roam. This was, in fact, a real concern in the 1950s as rock and roll music exploded on the national scene, and there was a lot of controversy at the time. Little Richard also explains in his autobiography, The Quasar of Rock, from 1984. Yes, it's quite a tell-all autobiography. Richard really lets it all hang out, and he doesn't hold back on the parties, the wild times, the racism, the money, and how they put all the music together. And of course, musical memoirs are quite a thing these days, but Richard was well ahead of the curve. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Pancake 31, his favorite makeup. Yeah, and the band wore it too. And this all contributed to, as Little Richard feels, contributed to his acceptance in the musical circles. And the interesting thing, we think about Little Richard as an innovator of rock and roll, and his fashion certainly plays into that as well. And it all lasted 15 months. From Tutti Frutti to when Little Richard was on tour in Australia and heard the word of God and decided to quit the music business and join a seminary university. Wow, it wasn't to last. Richard made many comebacks and was always a bit conflicted between his God and devil music, as he liked to put it. But I just wanted to share a nice fun time story about Little Richard, the king and queen of rock and roll, and his fashion sense that also was put into his band, the Upsetters. And you can't deny the success of Pancake 31 or a good pink suit. Yeah. So that's the story today for the Music and History channel. I hope you enjoyed that little tidbit. And if you did, please subscribe to the channel, and I will have more coming up. Have a